I'm curious if anecdotally some of the members of your association had been giving you glimpses that this was happening. Have they been slowly starting to rehire?
Well, Taylor, thanks for having me join you today. And look, the news that just came out about jobs and certainly in our sector is encouraging. And yes, with the reopening that's happening out there, not nearly at the rate that we need today, we are seeing some restaurant employees coming back to work. I think the challenge for us, though, is that at the height of this pandemic, we had about 8 million restaurant employees that have been laid off or furloughed. So we're certainly on the road to slow recovery, but there's still a lot of uncertainty out there.
And are you surprised by some of the nimbleness of restaurants to quickly shift to doing takeout and delivery as many restaurants were closed for indoor dining? What are some restaurants showing you about how nimble they've been in transitioning throughout this pandemic?
Well, it's one of the great things about this industry. It doesn't surprise me at all because one of the things that has made this industry great is the creativity and the entrepreneurial spirit that has always existed. You think about these folks, they are always looking at ways to solve problems for their guests and create new experiences for them. So I'm not surprised at all that they have been able to shift quickly, in some cases things like delivery and takeout. But there are other things like alcohol to go that are great examples of where this industry is nimble and flexible and trying to do things to get themselves back on track, albeit we have a long way still to go.
And some of that long ways to go, and you've highlighted this, 8 million jobs lost, of course. So while you get a little boost from today's jobs report, nowhere near back to the levels that we previously had. As you look at those numbers, how long do you think it will take to recover the full 8 million jobs that you've lost? What are some of the barriers that you're noticing?
Well, there are a couple of things. And when we think about not just the 8 million jobs, but we anticipate that about $240 billion in losses will be had by this industry by the end of 2020. And so the recovery period is going to be important, and it's going to take some time here with the uncertainty that's still out there. I think the biggest thing is the amount of openings that are allowed. So as we know, there are many communities that are at 25% today, some moving to 50%. And so it's hard for this industry to survive at those type of levels. So we need creativity between local and state governments working with the restaurants and trying to create the environment where we can get more people back into these restaurants, albeit we need to do it safely. That's very important, and we obviously are partnering with those local and state governments to do that. But it's going to take the industry getting back to more capacity. And at the current levels, it's just going to be difficult for the industry to sustain this.
And there's been a lot of concern, too, that people don't want to go out to eat at restaurants until there is a vaccine. What early data have you gleaned from demand with some of those state and local governments that have started to open up? How quickly are consumers returning?
I think you hit the nail on the head. There are a couple things that have to be true. One, the consumer or the guest needs to feel safe. And I think the headline here is that food safety and safe food handling has always been a hallmark of this industry. If you think about all the training and certification programs that are in place today and have been for decades in partnership with the CDC and the FDA and USDA, those type of things are going to help us because we're really used to doing these type of things. Yes, there are some new cleaning procedures that are out there and protocols, again, in partnership with those same organizations. So I think it's giving consumers confidence that they can come back in and enjoy a meal and also do it in a very safe environment. So I think the good news is we've got a huge head start here. We just got to continue to reinforce that and remind consumers and give them that comfort and confidence because we know they all want to be back out there.
Is your industry pushing for more stimulus money?
Absolutely. If you think about the PPP program and the most recent Flexibility Act that came through this week, look, that was a great step towards a more complete relief package. But this is really, for our industry, just a bridge. You think about this industry, we've asked for a little more focused efforts and certainly believe that the next recovery bill needs to have targeted relief for restaurants. We've asked for $240 billion to support this industry. And I think it's important for everyone to recognize and realize that this is not about creating an environment where operators are profiting. This is simply about looking to create an environment where they can survive. the restaurants are such an important part of all of these communities that we all work and live in, and it's really important that we get this part of the industry back on its feet.
You know, quickly here, there's been a lot of restaurateurs who come out and say, frankly, there's nothing appealing about serving you food in a mask and a gloves. It really takes away from the experience. Is that true?
Well, I think, again, back to what's important is we need the guests to feel very comfortable, and we need the employees at the restaurants to feel comfortable and safe. And so I think it's more about creating the environment where everyone has that comfort. And if having a mask on, having that waiter or server have a mask on helps that guest feel more comfortable and feel like there's additional things in place, we're okay with that. I think it's really about creating an environment where everyone can feel safe and comfortable.